Hey guys, what's up? It's JT here with another video. In this video, I decided to do another story, and because my last story was like 3 days ago, I think, so I decided to just throw in another one. And this, since my last video was, kind of tips for tripping, I figured, what better way to embed this with the next video is if I just told you guys the first time I was tripped on acid. So it's a pretty interesting story. It's definitely a great one for me. I mean, it was like a crazy fucking trip for me. But for people who haven't dropped acid yet, I think this is a great, thing so you guys can listen to kind of get, because it's really hard to explain what acid's like. But this is a great kind of way when you listen to the story to kind of understand what it's kind of like. So without any further ado, as I always say, let's dive right into this video. So pretty much this started, I think, last year it had to have been. So last year, it was like I'd probably been smoking pot for maybe a couple months. And for some reason, it's not because it was a gateway drug. It wasn't like anything because I wasn't emotionally distressed. But for some reason, I just decided, I was doing some research on acid and psychedelics, and I was just kind of interested, just as most people are when they first start smoking pot. They're just kind of interested in the whole different drug community. I guess you could argue it is kind of a gateway drug in that sense, but whether people are going to do, crack and stuff like that, it's a totally different story. Maybe a different video. But anyways, so I was kind of interested in different, psychedelics and stuff like that. So the first thing that came across my mind, the thing that I've been hearing about in my school, was acid. So I heard about it, and I'd seen a couple people do it in videos. Like, it's like on YouTube, if you search up people tripping on acid, it was kind of interesting. It was cool to see people fucking trip, and that was kind of scary, honestly. It was pretty off-putting, but yeah. So I was just really interested in kind of the whole concept of tripping, and so I finally decided, I'm like, you know what, I want to try this stuff out. So I did do my research. I did not, unfortunately, hypocritical to my last video, as I said you should get a test kit. I did not get a test kit when I got my hands on the stuff, but boy was it difficult. I mean, I had maybe 2 pot dealers at the time that I was buying off of, but I had no other connections beyond that, and it was kind of difficult to find. But I finally found it after a couple months. And I was doing research on, like, what's the full trip, because I figured, like, I had a really stupid mentality back then, and last year I had a really stupid mentality with, all sorts of drugs and psychedelics. It was just really fucking idiotic, but you'll in a sec. But what happened was, so I was doing a lot of research on it, and for some reason, well, not for some reason, but from what I was reading on, it had said that, 2 tabs was good, but 3 tabs was a full trip. And I was reading this on like Arrowhead.com and all those like trippy websites, Grass City and stuff like that. And a lot of them were saying like, oh yeah, 1 tab's good for beginner, 2 tabs is good too, but 3 tabs you get the full experience. Like you get all the hallucinations, you get to go through all the different sectors of tripping and all the fucking dimensions and all. You get to go through all the Alice in Wonderland holes and all that trippy stuff. That's what I had read, and that if you take 3 tabs, that's the move. And I didn't really understand the concept of UG yet. I didn't really get the measurements. But that's what I understood. I understood that you needed 3 tabs to get the full experience. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'll get 3 tabs. So that's exactly what I did. I'm not going to go into how I got it or whatever, but I ended up getting it. So I ended up getting it, and I was deciding, like, how the fuck am I gonna, where am I gonna do this? Because I'd researched enough to know that it was like 8 to 12 hour trip. So I was like, and I was still kind of, off put. I'm like, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I not? It was still kind of like weird. Anyways, but I finally decided that you should I researched this too, that you should have a trip sitter. Like you should invite someone over, have a friend, and just have someone watch over you so when you do something. So I knew that for sure. I wasn't that stupid. I decided, like, you know what? I'm going to do this crazy thing. I have to have someone look over me. And the next order of business was, what the fuck was I going to do? When was I going to do it? Was there any way that I could, kind of make it so my parents couldn't find out? Like, what's going to happen? Because, I've walked in my house high all the time, but, this is going to be a totally different thing, I probably wouldn't be able to talk. So I was pretty nervous about that. But anyways, so it ended up being perfect. My dad was on a business trip, and I asked my mom if I could have some people sleep over. So I had a couple of my friends sleep over, and they spent the night. We were just playing 2K and all, and they knew I was going to drop some acid. So I said, all right, if my mom leaves to go out, I'll drop it, and we'll just act like we're sleeping when she comes back and see what the fuck happens, right? And they were kind of like, ooh, Brandon, this is this shit's not, this can't go well. You should be careful, like, don't do it. They were like, because they'd never done anything like this before, so it was kind of crazy for me to be doing it in front of them. They were trying to convince me not to do it, and I was just like, nah, I really want to try this for myself. So I whatever, they come over, and I had the 3 separate tabs. And I'm like, you know what I'll do is I'll just take 1 or 2, and then if if it gets too intense, I won't take the third, right? And that's exactly what I did. So I take 1 or 2, and I go out with my friend, and I just said, you know what, let's go for a walk. So 2 of my friends stayed in my house, and my other friend who was with me, we just went for a walk around around my neighborhood. And we're going for a walk, and I had already dropped it, and been like 15, 20 minutes. the new move for me to do was after 15 to 20 minutes, I'm like, man, this stuff isn't hitting, because I'd never even swallowed pills. I'd never done any of that stuff, so I didn't know how long it was supposed to take. I figured it was going to be pretty instantaneous. So a part of me was like, maybe I need to take a third one for these to hit. So fucking stupid, but for some reason that was going on my mind, and I was like, you know what, that's what I have to do. So I came back home, and I picked up the last tab, and I swear to you, as soon as I had placed the third tab in my mouth, it wasn't, I'm not trying to convince you that the third one was the one that got me a trip, but the other two had kicked in. So when the other two kicked in, I immediately got a really weird head rush, and I just felt so eerie. I remember telling my friends this. I kept telling them, I feel really weird right now. Like, I just felt so strange. I wasn't tripping. It wasn't like anything like that, but I just felt very, very, very strange. I just did not feel like myself. I almost felt as though my consciousness was just leaving my body, and I was like kind of looking at my body from a third-person perspective. I wasn't technically seeing my body from a third-person perspective, but I just felt out of myself. I didn't really feel like me. So anyways, so the rest of this thing's kind of a blur, but I remember feeling that. So I go upstairs, and now I'm in my sister's room. I'm just kind of laying down in her bed. My friends are just kind of surrounding me like, holy shit, this kid okay? And I feel so bad for them because they were probably really worried about me. Anyways, so I'm laying down in my sister's bed, and now I'm starting to see some things, and I can't believe my eyes. I mean, what I'm seeing is I'm just seeing like these like almost like jellyfish-like patterns. Like they're just like kaleidoscope images sort of, but everything's still there. I'm not seeing anything new. I'm not tripping about like unicorns. I'm not seeing anything like that, but everything that I'm seeing is just kind of distorted, and it looks as though like if I were to touch it, it would jiggle. It almost looked like, that sort of effect you get off like a jellyfish, but you think of when you touch it, kind of just like dissipates, it just moves around, like all distorted and such. So that's what I kept seeing, and it was so strange. I was like, what the fuck am I seeing? And I could then about an hour later, I mean this is pretty fucked. It was so much of a blur. I don't really remember, but I kept, I remember they kept saying, "Oh, Brandon, are you okay?" And I couldn't say anything. Anyways, oh yeah, so the next part I just remember this right on the dot here. My mom ends up calling me, and we're playing like 2K13 or something, and my mom ends up calling me, and my friend's like, oh shit, dude, your mom's fucking calling, you have to pick up. And I remember I'm in slow motion, I'm just like, what? And I'm just like, what? And then they finally realize like, oh shit, he's fucking talking finally. I feel like a freaking retard. I couldn't talk, I just couldn't fathom words. My eyes were seeing too many crazy things for me to even talk, So, because the whole thing was just so new to me. I'd never seen anything like that. So I ended up picking up the phone without them saying anything. They're like, oh my god. So I put on speakerphone. I was like, now I'm starting to get back into it. So for some reason, when I had a task in front of me that I knew I had to complete, and I needed to do it with, it needed to be completed with utter urgency and precision, I knew that this needed to be executed it needed to be executed perfectly. So I'm like, okay, I need something as fine as possible. So I'm like, hello to my mom, like really weird, and she goes, hey Brandon, what's up, what are you doing? And I'm just like, oh, I'm at the house with with my friends or whatever, we're just chilling here playing Xbox. And she's like, okay, and I never forget what she said. She goes, are they sleeping over? And I'm like, yeah. And then she goes, you sound funny, are you okay? And that's when my heart just skipped a beat. I'm just like, oh fuck. I was just like, oh no, this is not good. Like there's nothing good can arise from this. When she asks, are you okay? That's when she knows something's up, right? So I'm like, no, yeah, everything's fine. And I think I played it off with the yeah. For some reason, I think that the yeah sounded more sober enough than the rest of the whole fucking conversation. So for some reason, when I said yeah, I'm fine, she kind of played it off, and she was like, okay, all right, I think he's okay. But anyway, so she's like, okay, I'm coming home soon. And I think it had to be maybe, I'm kind of guesstimating here, but this had to be maybe 1 o'clock when she said she was going to come home soon. I was like, okay. It's like, okay, sounds good, I'll see you here. And I hung up the phone immediately. She didn't even say anything back, right? And, so the rest of the trip was just me like, oh my God, I was just worrying about my mom coming home. And, about an hour later, now it's 2 o'clock. And my friends think they're here, hear my door opening, but, she wasn't actually there. And then we end up going back downstairs, and my friends had to literally carry me because I couldn't, my brain was just processing so much stuff. And this is really unique to my first trip because I never felt this really afterwards, but because it was so new to me, I couldn't walk down the stairs. And this is another thing I remember so clearly too. We walked down the stairs, and I'm used to seeing my mom's car shouldn't have been there. My mom's car's not there. That means she's obviously gone. So my fucking friends were convinced that, that she had gotten home. And I'm like, okay, maybe we should go downstairs just to check. And so I have my friend go downstairs to go check. And he goes downstairs and he's like, yeah, your mom's not here. I think we're good. And I'm like, okay, let's check if, meanwhile, I'm speaking really like fucked up, but, I say something along the lines that they understood as, let's go see if her car is there. Because maybe she was, coming around the back or something. I don't know. So we go to check and her car was there. And I'll never fucking forget this because it was so crazy. We look at the car, and for some reason, the adrenaline that I got from seeing her car being there, right, made me completely blank out. I almost fainted because all I saw, because I moved into this pretty big house, and this is in Miami. And I moved into it, and I remember we didn't really have much furniture in the very beginning, in the living room. We just had that dining set table, but we didn't have any furniture. It was like a big, really open space when you open the door, and then you saw you saw the table, and then as you kept going through the house, obviously we had more furniture. But the very opening of the house had no furniture, and I think this is why I saw this, because I was trying to make sense of this afterwards. And so I sit down near the the windowsill, just trying to fathom like where the fuck could she have been? Because she's not in the house. If she would have came in already, she would have came. So where the fuck is she, right? And just thinking about this made my eyes and made my trip just change. So instead of seeing the jelly thing patterns, it was almost literally I just saw a huge, not necessarily a white light, but just white. Have you ever seen that SpongeBob episode where they go into that time machine and SpongeBob is just running through that white thing and Squidward's in there too, just trying to find out? Literally, I swear that is the best thing I could tell you, the best analogy I could make, or the best comparison, because that is exactly how I felt. It was just white. I literally could not see anything, and I think because I didn't have any furniture, it really was easy for my brain to just be like, oh, since there's nothing here, there's nothing to see, so I guess I just didn't see anything. It was just white, and that freaked me out so much. I remember, I didn't scream, but I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, so I told my friends to just race me back upstairs, and they picked me up and they got me upstairs, and so I get upstairs, and I'm just like, I'm really fucked now. Now I'm just, after seeing that, because it was so crazy, I was so used to seeing things that were already there, and I went from seeing things that were already there to seeing nothing. Like, everything just, it went away quick. It was like, maybe like a 15-second thing, but it was there, like, I saw nothing, and then suddenly everything reappeared. It was like almost when people were talking to me, I just kind of snapped back into it. Then I realized, I'm like, okay, listen, my mom's probably going to come at any point now. I should probably try to get some rest. And I'm probably only like 4 hours in the trip, so I'm maybe halfway at best, maybe through this. If it's not going to go to 12 hours, I'm halfway there. So it had to be maybe, if I drop maybe, I think I dropped maybe at 10, so it's probably, I think it had to be around 3 now. So I'm probably a good way through the trip now. And my friends are already, they're dead ass asleep. And I go to sleep. And I don't know how I did this, because this is another thing that's unique to the trip that I had. For some reason, I went to sleep. I think maybe I went to a fucking acid coma or something, because I couldn't process what I was seeing. I couldn't even think properly. I'm just like, Brandon, you need to sleep this shit off. So I don't know how the fuck I did it, because I've never been able to do it since, but I went to sleep. I don't know, but I did. So I go to sleep. And I remember waking up pretty early. I wake up it was like 5:36-ish. And I remember because I wake up with the most like enlightened sort of feeling in my brain. Like I felt very just like normal. Like I went from feeling like totally out of my brain, on my conscious, to just feeling totally normal, right? So I get up out of bed and I notice like my friend's sleeping next to me and my other two friends are sleeping in my sister's bed. And I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, I feel fine. Like I actually feel great right now. I'm like, okay. And I'm starting to think clearly. Everything's very clear. But one thing was fucking off, boys. One fucking thing. My bed was curving into itself, like it was like folding on itself, and I'm in the bed and I'm looking at my sheets, and the sheets had given the illusion that they were folding in on itself, and I would just look at this and I'm just in utter shock. I cannot believe I'm seeing my sheets just fold over like that. So I get out of bed immediately. I wake up my friend. I'm just like, it was my friend Wilson. So I'm like, Wilson, wake the fuck up. And he goes, what's up? And I'm like, dude, the bed is folding in on itself. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And then then he thought I was messing with him, because now that I was talking, I actually sounded sober, because I was mentally. But, what I was seeing was just so fucked. Then immediately I just start looking at things, and I'm just, I wake him up and I'm just telling him what I'm seeing and stuff. And we just wanted a conversation what was happening. I was just telling him everything, because it was so, I've never had this feeling before. And this is why this is my favorite trip, and this is why I wanted to do the story, because it was such a really surreal feeling that I felt completely fine when I took that nap. And then, I was completely able to talk about anything. I could talk fine, right, just like I am now. But the only difference was that I was hallucinating. So it was really strange. I didn't have that mass confusion, but I was just tripping. And I remember looking at my hand, and my hand was distorted as well. I remember looking at my hand and just being like, what the fuck? My hand would just, it almost felt as though like my skin was melting. Like, I didn't feel like it was melting, but it gave the illusion like it was melting. It was kind of like my bones and my skin were getting very thin, and then it would expand. It was getting thin, and then it would expand. It was really strange. But anyways, I'm trying to think of anything else I saw. But oh yeah, so then another thing that I saw was I used to draw a little bit, you know, and back then a year ago, and I was looking at my little things and I drew a little picture. I sketched out a little picture of the Fallout guy, you know, with the little poster guy with the Coca-Cola thing, with the fucking whatever thing, and you know how he looks like from the 50s, like a 50s little Coke thing, whatever. And I drew him with a thumbs up winking. And I remember I looking at that picture and he started winking at me. And I looked at all my photos just like in Harry Potter where like the pictures kind of move a little bit. It was just like that. And that was it. I mean, pretty much about maybe 30 minutes after that, I had to be around 6-ish. I gotta say, I'm gonna guesstimate around 6-ish. 6-ish. Holy fuck, I couldn't I couldn't say 6. But anyways, fuck, am I tripping right now? But anyways, so, you know, I just, you know, it went away in about, I don't know, probably like an hour after that, and then I was completely fine. So it went away after an hour. I just felt really groggy and tired because I probably only slept for maybe 3 hours. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that was pretty much it, but it was a really surreal fucking experience. It was really strange. Probably one of the strongest trips. It was a good trip though. I didn't have nothing really. Well, yeah, I had those few scary parts, but it was nothing compared to the bad trips that I've had before in the future. But you know, it was a pretty good trip all around. You know, it was interesting. That whole end part, after I took a nap, made up for the whole trip. You know, the whole thing was all kind of paranoia involved. It was all kind of scary, but it was almost like when I slept away all my fucking things and was fine. And yeah. So that's the end of this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed the story, if you guys want to hear stories similar to this one, because I got plenty of them, leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions on it. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.